In the beginning we are told about the beasts living in the busy city of Jutengai. They are being led by their grandmaster for a long time, but now he announced he will be retiring and reincarnating as a god. Even though he didn't yet decide what kind of god he would become, he allowed for his successor to be chosen already. Two beasts are the most promising candidates. Eosin, who is a great warrior with lots of discipline, and Kumatetsu, with the appearance of a bear and the swiftness of a monkey. He possesses bottomless strength and wields his sword masterfully, but he is quite troublesome. We are brought to the modern-day Tokyo. A little boy is wandering the busy city on his own. As he finds a quiet back alley to relax in, we are shown what happened to him. His name is Ren. His mother unexpectedly passed away and his father was not there. Some other relatives are telling him that the court gave them custody already, and he should forget about his father. But Ren is not happy with that and runs away from home. It is obvious he is tormented by all of that, and hatred manifests deep within him. Back where Ren is resting next to a sidewalk, two cloaked figures approach him. As the larger of them starts asking Ren questions about his parents, Ren becomes agitated and lashes out. The large figure grabs his head and forces him to make contact, stating how he likes the look in his eyes. The first cloaked figure addresses another one as Kumatetsu, urging him to move on, but before the two of them leave, Kumatetsu turns to Ren, asking him if he would like to come with him. Without waiting for his answer, the two figures leave. Ren is confused but also intrigued by the creatures, so he decides to follow them in secret. Following them into a narrow alleyway, Ren finds himself wandering through a labyrinth of paths before suddenly entering the beast city, Jutengai. All the people he sees around him look like animals, and the way back is gone. He runs around in a panic, trying to find a way out of that place. He is found and calmed down by a pig-faced monk who calls himself Shibuya. The monk explains to Ren how the beasts and humans live in separate worlds, stating how he will lead him back to the human world. A familiar figure from before stops them. It is the same beast who asked Ren to come with him, Kumatetsu. He then declares how Ren is his new apprentice. The monk is upset when hearing that, and another beast joins the argument. It is a shorter figure with the face of a monkey. His name is Tatara, and he appears to be the second cloaked figure, who was with Kumatetsu in the human world. Tatara explains to Shibuya how the Grand Master told Kumatetsu that he needs a disciple. But unlike Eosin, Kumatetsu has trouble getting one. And when wandering through the human world, they found this kid. The monk states how he is concerned about leaving a human child in Kumatetsu's care, but relents regardless. Ren then follows Kumatetsu to his home, which is small and in disarray. He tells Kumatetsu that he never agreed to become his disciple, but the beast ignores the remark and starts questioning him, instead asking about his name. Ren refuses to give him that, but answers how he is 9 years old. Kumatetsu then gives him a new name, Kyure. The next morning, Shibuya and Tatara come by to check in on Kumatetsu and Ren, only to find them arguing over eating raw eggs for breakfast. With Ren finding raw eggs horrible and the argument escalating, he runs away. In the city, Ren runs across Ichirohiko and Jiromaru. We can see that Jiromaru is a young boar-faced beast, while Ichirohiko appears to be a human child wearing a boar-themed cap. The two of them are approached by their father Eosin, who is a boar-faced beast. He spots Kumatetsu and they get into an argument over him taking in a human. Eosin then explains how humans harbor darkness in their hearts. The darkness could take them over and make them go out of control. Kumatetsu doesn't back down and the argument escalates. With the two of them fighting in the busy city, a large crowd gathers. As the fight rages on, Eosin is having an obvious upper hand. Ren stares at the fight and realizes that no one is cheering for Kumatetsu. He thinks it is similar to how lonely he feels now. Seeing how Kumatetsu is about to be defeated, he begins cheering him on. The fight gets interrupted by the Grandmaster, who appears to be an old bunny beast, suddenly appearing between the two fighters. He reprimands them for fighting randomly like that. Even with Eosin protesting, the Grandmaster allows Kumatetsu to take in Ren as his disciple. Back at Kumatetsu's home, the boy tells Kumatetsu that he wants to become his apprentice, if it will make him as strong as he is. To prove his dedication, he forces himself to eat the raw eggs from breakfast. Kumatetsu is surprised and happy to see that, promising that he will train him thoroughly. The following day, Ren's training begins. But it quickly becomes apparent that Kumatetsu is horrible at teaching, which makes them argue again. Kumatetsu goes on a short trip, leaving Ren back at his house. Ren is instructed by Shibuya about his duties as an apprentice, taking care of the chores around the house and fixing everything up. While he was out shopping for groceries, Ren gets bullied by Jiromaru and his friends. Ichirihiko notices that, and rushes to protect Ren. After the incident, Ren gets upset at getting called weak, and becomes determined to get stronger. Next we see Kumatetsu at his place and he questions Ren about his bruises, making fun of him for being so weak that he got bullied. Ren retaliates by comparing him to Iozan, stating how Iozan is much better. The tensions rise and the two argue once again. Tatara takes Kumatetsu away to cool down and they are approached by the Grandmaster, who gives Kumatetsu letters of introduction to various other Grandmasters, telling him it would do them good to visit those as a part of training. And so Kumatetsu and Ren, together with Tatara and Shibuya, go across the country to visit all the Grandmasters. Along the way, Kumatetsu and Ren constantly train together. From each Grandmaster they learn what their personal view of true strength is. One day, during a quiet evening, Shibuya explains to Ren that Kumatetsu is a bad teacher, because he had no parents or master himself. All the techniques he knows are self-taught, what made him strong, but bad at teaching others, since he never learned to listen to others. Returning from their journey, Ren has a vision of his mother telling him to become like Kumatetsu. With that in mind, he begins to copy Kumatetsu's movement and actions, learning his moves and attack patterns. At first Kumatetsu is annoyed by Ren constantly copying all he does, but after a short talk with Shibuya, he warms up to the idea. Quite quickly Ren learns Kumatetsu's moves so well that he is able to predict them. Ren decides to put that skill to the test and provokes Kumatetsu. To everyone's surprise, Kumatetsu is unable to grab a hold of Ren. Ren explains how he is able to predict his moves and will teach him, if Kumatetsu in return teaches him how to properly fight. They start training each other every day. Soon Ren confronts his former bullies, easily defeating them. Jiromaru is impressed by him and wants to be his friend, stating how he likes strong people. After a couple of years of training, the Grandmaster comes by, and comments how it is hard to tell who the master is, between the two. Explaining how Kumatetsu became a lot better at fighting since he started training with Ren. Ren is now 17 years old, and we can tell he has become a strong fighter. Jiromaru and Ichirihiko are talking about it. Ichirihiko appears to be agitated by the idea of Kumatetsu and Ren becoming stronger. One day Ren accidentally finds his way back to Tokyo. He visits a high school library and is struggling to read the letters in the books. A high school girl happens to be nearby, so he asks her for help, which she does. After the library closes, the girl is getting bullied by her peers. Ren appears and quickly beats up the bullies. While not approving of violence, she is still grateful to him. Ren explains that he has not been going to school at all, and she offers to help him study. They introduce themselves to each other, and we learn that her name is Kaede. Days pass and he spends more and more time in the human world, studying every chance he gets. Since Ren is very enthusiastic about learning, Kaede suggests he tries enrolling for an university. During the process of registering for the university, Ren finds out the address of his father. He goes to visit, and when his father recognizes him, he gives him a big hug and breaks down in tears. Ren tells everything to Kaede, and wonders if he could ever lead a normal life. Returning to Kumatetsu's place, Ren and Kumatetsu have a big argument. Ren tells him how he is done getting stronger, as he finds he is strong enough, and he is returning back to the human world, where he found his father. Kumatetsu asks Ren not to go, but he leaves anyway. Back in the human world, Ren meets up with his father. On the way to his apartment, Ren lashes out and starts arguing with his father. Realizing he is in the wrong, Ren runs away. While on the run, he gets overwhelmed by all the negative emotions. Seeing his own inner darkness manifest, he starts panicking and runs to the library where Kaede said she would be. Even though it is past closing hours, she is still there, waiting for him in case he needs her. With some effort and reassurance, she manages to calm him down. Ren goes to the beast world and stumbles upon Jiromaru, who invites him to his place, and the two of them go there to chat. From him he learns that the Grandmaster announced it is time for him to retire and ascend. which means that Kumatetsu and Iozen will have their match to decide the next Grandmaster tomorrow. Ren quickly leaves to go to Kumatetsu, but is intercepted by Ichirohiko, who appears to be struggling with darkness within him as well. The match is being held in a grand arena, in front of countless of beasts. With the Grandmaster giving the signal, Kumatetsu and Iozen begin their match. It is clear from the start that Kumatetsu is not entirely focused on the fight, and Iozen gets the upper hand. Ren arrives just as Kumatetsu is about to lose. He begins cheering him on and Kumatetsu gets back on his feet, clearly happy that Ren is back. With renewed focus and determination, Kumatetsu swings the battle back into his favor. Ichirohiko is visibly agitated by that, and the wraps he had to hide his face drop down, revealing he did not grow any tusks or snout, like his brother Jiromaru did. With a finishing blow, Kumatetsu decides the match, knocking out Iozen. Before the celebrations even begin, Ichirohiko uses his telekinetic powers to launch a sword into Kumatetsu's back, impaling him. Witnessing what just happened causes Ren's darkness to return. Also using telekinetic powers, much like Ichirohiko's, he sends his own sword flying at Ichirohiko. But before the sword makes contact, he gets a hold of himself, suppressing the darkness within. Ichirohiko gets completely consumed by darkness and disappears, swearing how he will never forgive Ren. Kumatetsu is put in a hospital and appears to be in a bad shape. The Grandmaster confronts Iozen, telling him that the telekinetic powers come from the darkness in human hearts. Iozen apologizes to the Grandmaster, explaining how Ichirohiko was actually an abandoned human baby that he stumbled upon, deciding to take him in and raise him as his own son. But when obvious changes in their appearance were brought up, he always dismissed Ichirohiko, telling him that he will change eventually. Never telling him that he was human made Ichirohiko fall into despair, questioning why he was so different. The Grandmaster explains that the darkness must be expelled in order for them to help Ichirohiko. Ren overhears the conversation and heads for the human world. Back in the human world, Ren meets with Kaede. He tells her that he has a difficult fight ahead, and that he does not know if he will return from it. He thanks her for everything, expressing how grateful he is that he met her. Before they can finish their conversation, Ichirohiko appears and chaos ensues. He charges at them on the busy streets of Shibuya, involving lots of innocent bystanders into the fight. Ren does not want to hurt random people, and has to protect Kaede, so he is at a grave disadvantage. Making a run for it, Ren and the girl escape to a less populated area by using the subway. On the subway, Kaede confesses to Ren, telling him how fun it is for her to be with him, and how his efforts to study motivated her to study more as well, and how happy she is when they are together. Over in the Beast world, we can see the chaos from Tokyo being reflected. As the two worlds are connected, Ichirohiko's rampage in the human world is also destroying the Beast world. Kumatetsu gets up from the hospital bed, and despite his injuries, approaches the Grandmaster, requesting that he lets him reincarnate as a god, so that he will become someone who can fill up the hole in Ren's heart, because that is the only thing he can do for him right now. Ren and Kaede are in a secluded area, followed by Ichirohiko, who attacks them. Kaede refuses to leave Ren's side and even yells at Ichirohiko for letting darkness consume him. Seeing no other option, Ren decides to take in Ichirohiko's darkness into himself. The process gets interrupted by a sword falling from the sky. The sword calls out Ren's name, and it is quickly apparent that this is the reincarnated Kumatetsu. The sword sinks into the hole inside of Ren's heart, and Ren is overcome with emotion, remembering all the times he spent together with Kumatetsu. He can hear Kumatetsu's voice within him, guiding him in the fight. With renewed strength, he fights back and delivers a deciding blow against the darkness within Ichirohiko, dispelling it, but not harming him in the process. Ichirohiko wakes up in his bed surrounded by his family. However, he doesn't remember what happened after he went to watch the match. Ren is having a tender moment with Kumatetsu, who now resides within his heart. There is a celebration for Ren in the Beast world. Even Kaede got invited to attend it. There, she asks him if he will come take those university entrance exams after everything that happened. He decides to go for it, and she is overjoyed. Then we see Ren returning to his father's apartment and making up with him. They start living together, as Ren studies for the university exam. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.